live. Okay.
What's up?
We're in the studio. Welcome, Whitworth. This is Dylan.
And this is Ike.
And we are back at it again with the beats.
Yep.
InDifference podcast. We are back in the studio, in the Whitworth.fm studio. And we have a good show tonight.
We are Ike and Dylan, and we're just two friends who like dope music and just real talk. Authenticity is really important to us. So InDifference is a podcast that can talk about issues that affect students both on and off campus. Continue to tune in Monday nights from 8 to 9:30. Call us to be on the show. The number is going to be 509-777-3278. Let's go.
We're going to do a couple announcements for you guys, for our faithful listeners out there.
All 10.
Yeah, all 10 of you guys.
Hopefully there's like 50 out there, but anyway.
We don't actually know how to measure how many people are listening on this. So if you're listening to this, give us a text, give us a call. We'd love to hear from you.
Yo, we also got a Facebook page out too, so
yes.
let us know on there if you're listening as well, if you've liked it so far, you know?
Yeah, we just got that started. It's pretty exciting. We have a logo. And we have a bunch of cool things we're gonna unveil throughout this rest of this Jan term, throughout the rest of this semester. So yeah, the first thing is the Facebook page, and that's kind of just like our basic mode of advertisement. So like we need help sharing that. So if you're a part of that Facebook page, share it, get the word out, like it, tell your friends to like it, tell anyone that's interested, who is interested in real conversation, to like it, because it will be a really cool thing for everyone that's involved. Seriously, guys, we love you, and we hope that you love our show enough to share it with your friends and family.
Yep.
And Ike, do you want to talk about this next cool thing we started?
Yeah, so this kind of just happened out of nowhere, but we actually got an InDifference playlist on Spotify. So if you just type in InDifference, you should be able to find it on Spotify. Also, shortly after the show, just to make it easier for you guys, I'll probably just end up sharing that playlist so y'all can follow it and just listen to the music.
Yeah, and that's something that we will help embody what we're about. Ike is teaching me. I am the Padawan of Ike's Jedi force skills when it comes to music, because let me be honest, guys, the whiteness of who I am comes out when it comes to music. I'm learning. I am a young Padawan.
Yeah.
Guys, also really exciting news if you're listening. We are getting further and further to getting closer to getting our podcasts up and running.
Yeah.
We have these past 2 episodes, or no, I think we're on past 3 episodes that we have for you guys that we have recorded, and they're online, and we've kind of kept those in our documents. So we're going to get those up as soon as we can. Mm-hmm. Just so you guys are aware, the last 2 episodes we did was media. Yeah. Discrimination in the media. Yeah. Or stereotyping.
Stereotypes, yeah, in the media.
And then the one before that was...
kind of drawing a blank on that whole
Yeah.
What was it? Too. Yeah, we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah. We'll come back.
So bad.
And then the first one we did was just an introduction, but just so you guys are aware, we have some pretty exciting things on the schedule ahead of us. We have how to be a good ally to students of minoritized groups. Mm-hmm. We have
women of color.
Yeah. Hey, okay.
I'm excited for that one.
And
that one's good.
You know, me and Ike have been saying this for the last 3 episodes. We cannot speak into some of these areas, which is why we have awesome guests. And today we have an incredible guest too for you, who we'll introduce, and we'll get him talking. He's excited, I think. He's smiling. Yeah. That's a good thing.
There you go.
But we have some cool things ready for you guys. We have also some cool things with mixed race students. Shout out to Hannah Howell if you're listening. You're cool.
I think she is listening.
I think she is listening. We know. We see you when you're listening. We see you when you're not.
Okay, we're Santa Claus now.
Okay. But yeah, so that's kind of what we have so far. We hope you keep listening. We love you guys. Yeah, like Ike said, we do this every Monday, and we really enjoy that you guys listen in on us because we have some cool conversations. That can be applied to anyone. And yeah, so I think that's the first thing. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to my class that's studying right now. Way to go, because I'm not studying.
We're doing something important though. So.
This is a great break, honestly.
Yep.
But yeah, so you want to get us started with our first song?
Yeah. So the song is called "Late Nights" by the artist Gavi. We'll get to our show and the main point of it. All right. Hope you guys like it. All right, everyone, that was the song Late Nights by Gavi. Again, if you want to listen to some of the songs that you might like on our show, just follow our InDifference playlist or wait until I share it on our Facebook page.
Yeah. We're ready to jump in, guys. Today we have a very exciting topic, the topic of subtle discrimination.
Yep.
So, Ike, you want to give us like a quick definition?
Yeah, I got you. So, subtle discrimination. It can also be known as covert racism, but it's a form of racial discrimination that is disguised, and subtle rather than public or obvious. It's concealed in the very being and fabric of our society, and so it discriminates against individuals through unnoticeable or seemingly passive methods.
That's another important part of it is that we were looking at these different definitions, and Ike actually found this really cool point that was a part of this one, which said that there were other definitions which include that it's kind of a boundary keeping mechanism whose primary purpose is to maintain social distance between racial majorities and racially historically minoritized groups. So that's important. Like it's not just a public thing. It's not public at all. It's hidden, and it's used as a way for people to separate themselves towards the things that basically they don't want to confront or that makes them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. And also, I guess the reason why these things are here is because historically, bad things have happened, even though people don't want to talk about stuff. Yes, slavery did happen in the United States. Slavery has happened in other parts of the world, and it kind of continues to happen as well. Stuff with that, and plus treatment of Native Americans and just like the different minoritized groups who weren't white that came to this country. Subtle discrimination is kind of like the remnants of those things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's important too, because it happens because subtle discrimination, subtle racism is so common. There's the other name of microaggressions, which are basically when people assume things and then make assumptions that aren't justified, and hold that as something that's true over someone. And there's a difference between the explicit and the implicit attitudes that people have. So in other words, like our beliefs and feelings are revealed by our actions. And do you have an example for this?
So example for this could be, you might not say that you are sexist, and you might even say that you're anti-sexist. But if you interrupt women more than men in meetings, then you would be displaying sexist implicit attitudes.
Yeah. Or another one too, like you might not say that you're racist. You might even say that you're anti-racist, but if you commonly, like if you just like assume, let's use a very simple microaggression example. If you assume that Asians are good at math, that is, but you don't ever say that, but you just like think that, that would be displaying that you have a racially implicit attitude. And those things are more common than that example. Like it could be as common as like you applying for a job and then realizing that you get the job because you deserve it or that you've worked hard for it, without realizing that your skin color or the way you look, the complexion you have, has been huge in getting you there. So we have a very important guest with us. He is a student here at Whitworth University. The legend, the man, the myth. The
homie. And
he's with us live. And yeah, dude, do you want to introduce yourself for us?
Thanks for having me on, man. My name is Sibuso Adebe. I'm from South Africa, Cape Town. To be exact, yeah. I'm out here in the 509.
Yep.
Push and grind, trying to rip my city, rip my family.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was approached by Dylan to do this topic because we always speak about subtle discrimination on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Sibusa, tell us a little bit about yourself. Why is this topic interesting to you?
So I went to a predominantly I'd say a white structured school, so private school, boarding school, tradition. You don't break the tradition. It's very strict on tradition. So yeah, I've witnessed kind of like a school structure which is very directed and veered towards the white majority, and it's very hard to overcome those social barriers and rise up, but it is very possible. So in South Africa it's very active in terms of going anti-racist movements, and because we just got democracy 23 years ago, so it's a fresh wound. So I just feel like it's got potential to be beyond what it is now. If just people spoke up about it, it's pushed under the carpet here too much.
Yeah,
I think.
Totally. Yeah. What are the ways that you've felt this kind of subtle discrimination since you've been like in the States, or since you've been even here on campus?
There's quite a few ways. Could probably write an essay. I'll narrow them down. So just the name pronouncing thing. People might take that like pretty lightly, but if someone pronounces your name wrong, you'll probably get, well, numerously you'll probably get offended eventually. Or if you have a twin and they get you mixed up. So it works the same way for us. In South Africa, all my boys, they know that I'm not called Sibuso, I'm called Boti, simply because people can't say Sibuso. So it's pretty sad.
Yeah, man.
I just thought when I came here, like I'm not trying to transform myself or whatever, but I'm just trying to be my authentic self. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I thought it was time to adopt my name, and because it is on my ID, my passport, so why not use it?
Yeah.
So I think it came a time that I had to use it. So just in general, so like people still can't say my name, so they try shorten it, they try say it their own way. Like I've heard
what are the ways that you've heard that?
What have you heard that?
I've heard like Sibu and like
Man,
like
it's not that hard though.
It's not offensive because like it's sad because it's become socially acceptable for us to just like tolerate it. And I've heard like a good friend of mine, shout out to Dylan Crump, he's like Sibolso, like in his Texas southern accent. So, but like you just allow it sometimes. But another example is with Ike. Like a lot of people call him Ike, but they don't realize his actual name is Ike, not Ike.
I can definitely I can relate to you because Ike is just the first three letters of my actual full name. And so just like when I was growing up, the teachers down in Texas, couldn't say my full name. We just shorten it to Ike, just to make it easier for everyone else, but yeah.
But why should that be? Because I mean, like
I don't know, man.
We expected, like, and I hate to say this, but we expected to learn like James and Charlie and like, and like all those white names.
For real though,
like,
man.
Like with no questions asked. So why can't we shorten their names, like, or give them pseudonyms?
J. J for John. D for Dylan. No, I feel you though. Do you? Yeah, wait. Ike, say your full name.
Okay, yeah. For those of you who are wondering, my full name is Ikechukwu. It's from the Igbo language of Nigeria. It means God's power.
That.
My name does have a dope meaning. But you spell it Ike, so Ike, and then Chukwu. So,
dude, that's a way that like you've been conditioned.
Yeah.
To like, that's like you've been conditioned by the culture that's your name. and like that's kind of pushed away this other part of who you are.
Dude, I hated myself for so long, man. It was bad. I wanted to be like everyone else so bad for so long growing up. A person of color here in the like United States, you just see like all like the cool things your white friends are doing, and you kind of want to be like them. You know, don't like any part of yourself. So it took a lot of soul searching and like knowing myself to really know that I really do like myself. It sounds really stupid, but it, you know, like we kind of all we kind of all go through it, you know. So
I can totally relate to that. Like
yeah.
growing up in a very whitely dominated culture, they make it seem like it's normal to adopt their ways by assimilating. Yeah, you can conform and assimilate to a certain degree, but don't lose track of your culture. So like know yourself. Like you're black, not white.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
So another form of discrimination that's subtle that I've come across is the famous quote.
Yeah.
You from Africa? How do you speak English so well,
bruh?
Like, bruh, where do you live? You live in a hole. Like,
they ask you if you live in a hole. Are you serious?
No, I said, do they live under a hole?
Yeah,
or something?
it's like a reflexive question to them.
Oh, yeah. God. I was like, that's okay. Yikes, Whitworth. We gotta educate ourselves.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, let me just give you a brief background. South Africa was colonized by the British. Second of all, English is a global language, and we are taught in English, not any other language, despite us having 11 official languages.
Yeah.
But English is like dominant. And going back to what Ike was saying with conditioning, like my home language is isiZulu, but I speak English better, way better, just because of how I've been raised and brought up. Yeah.
So that's been a part of like the discrimination has been a part of like language too, because you've been kind of assimilated. You use the word assimilated, and for those of you who don't know, assimilation is essentially, and I don't want to butcher this, so please interject me, guys. Assimilation.
I'll fact check you on this.
Assimilation is essentially you being engulfed by the culture surrounding you, even if that culture isn't the culture you're originally from.
That's actually pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
A+ for Dill.
Let's go.
So like that assimilation can happen through language too. So you come to the States, you are kind of told this is the language to learn.
Yeah. This
is the language you do things in, you write in, you read in, it's in everything. So you part of that identity that's so core to you with your other language is kind of pushed to the side. So have you felt that?
Yeah, for sure. You pick up on, like when you spend a lot of time with people, you pick on their mannerisms and their habits and their lingo. So like I see myself like when I'm texting or like speaking, I say things that I would never say prior to coming here, but it's part of learning the culture. You can't fight the culture.
Yeah. Like new phone, who dis?
You can change this, yeah. So just like a more like historical thing, I guess closer to the United States, assimilation happened with Native Americans here. You know, the whole concept of like manifest destiny and kind of like converting the savages that lived here, and also like just like in a more modern context, you see this like with a lot of immigrant parents. Yeah, I've definitely seen it with like my parents as well, and all of my friends who are first generation Americans. You know, we kind of see that assimilation to kind of like get ahead or kind of be better than where you were, like where at least like where they came from, you know.
Totally. I wonder that with my dad. He was a Mexican immigrant. I wonder if there's times when he was here in the States where, maybe this didn't happen. Maybe he found a way to do both, but have to assimilate to American Western culture and kind of give up his Mexican heritage. I really do wonder that sometimes.
Yeah.
Probably would be a good question to ask him one day. Or if you're listening, Dad, because I know that my dad and my grandpa love listening. They are great fans of the show. But Sabuso, so if you could come up with a way to improve how people, because people do it all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Like it happens. Does it happen in the classroom? Like, do you experience subtle discrimination at all in the classroom, or?
Yeah, it's very difficult because some things you can't really, they're very abstract. You can't really like pinpoint them. So like, it's just like if you walk into a classroom, people stare, and it's just like you walk into the dining hall, people stare. But it's, you know what kind of glare they're giving you. Like it's like you may be like out of place, but it doesn't really get to me too much. But it's just like people must just be more socially aware of what they're doing, and more like informed, and like just like, I don't know, just speak about it. Like, don't be scared, embrace it.
That's a good word.
And I think the way of improving it is just like you can't form a resolution without solving the actual problem. So like, I feel like we spoke about this still. Hence the title, subtle discrimination. People discriminate subtly, and they don't even realize that they're discriminating. So how do you call them out if they don't realize what they're doing?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a very tough one. Like,
yeah,
it's
hard to pinpoint in the classroom, and because it's so subtle, it's hard to have a solution for. Which my next question is like, what are the ways you think we can improve that in our culture? And I guess you kind of answered it by saying like, just be more willing to just engage, right?
Yeah, and 100%. And in addition to that, I just think like it starts literally because I've noticed being in the States, your education system is very good and it's very supporting. If you want to do well, you can do well. You can be an average student, you can do well. South Africa is not like that. There's a very small percentage of people that will really do well. Trying to separate the men from the boys for some reason. but anyway, that's another story. I just think it's how they go about the education system. It's just, I feel like in some sense it's distorted. Like it's not really a global perspective on a lot of things. And I've spoken to quite a few of my American friends that they say that they didn't in their schools, they don't even learn about racism. The first time they're hearing it is in freshman year at college, which is which is really, really like, it's late. Like it's problematic. Like,
dang. Are these white students in South Africa?
No, it's whites and a few black students, and because I'm very fair, so like I'll go to every like part of the spectrum. So like,
totally,
all of them just say, yo, we don't speak about racism well, not all of them, but the vast majority, we don't speak about racism up until freshman year in college. So it's a very foreign like concept to them. And I think it's the fear of the unknown as well. So
totally,
yeah, for real.
Even that diversity conversation is just, it's daunting to them.
Yeah, like you can like, whenever you have a conversation about like race, diversity, or whatever other thing, like you can just kind of sense the aura, tension in the room, and like the vibe, the aura,
literally the aura, like,
and like the weird and like the kind of uncomfortable looks on people's faces, you know?
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think for students in the majority they get kind of tense or like awkward around this stuff? If you were to call it what it was, what would you say?
I think it goes back to the lack of like speaking about it, like it's exposure.
Totally.
Because in South Africa, we get exposed to almost everything. It's very explicit, and I feel like the media here likes to censor a lot of things. They like to sensationalize a lot of things, and then they like to downplay certain things, where it's like, okay, if you're only relying on one source for your information, you're gonna believe it. So like, I don't know. So I think it goes back to your government's education system. You need to teach it from a young age, because I started learning about racism when I was 9 years old. Like,
yeah,
I didn't even know what the term meant, but I knew Nelson Mandela was, at least. And I was 9 years old, so it started there.
Okay, so let's talk about American education for a second, because we we used to teach some very weird things in our history that we didn't really clarify. One of the biggest ones I can think of is like the way that the first people that came to the okay, I'm like butchering this and I'm going to try to get to a point, but the Pilgrims who came and invaded. So this is how it was painted in my educational system. This is how I experienced it. White people came, found this new land, and then claimed it as their own heroically. But what's really true, and when you hear the stories passed down from Native Americans, you hear a very, very different side of history. Mm-hmm. And you hear a side of history that is like horrible, basically. Mm. And you hear a side of history that says like we, pillaged and murdered and raped and did all this terrible stuff, and that's the side of history that we weren't taught, as kids. So I think you're right, Sabusa. I think it does start with our education system and how we start off from a very young age learning about this stuff, because then we become more and more aware of it and less awkward about it.
Yeah, exactly. So you got it spot on there, though, because I also learned stuff that I didn't know about, like Native Americans. Like they had those boarding schools and they had
assimilation.
Assimilation.
Yeah.
and then obviously, like it's like a similar thing in South Africa. Like they took their land, still fighting to reclaim their land.
Yeah.
Took their identity, their language, their culture.
Totally.
And it's just like it's portrayed a certain way, and because I've taken classes where it speaks about American history and like briefly, but it's I think it's heading definitely in the right direction. It's just it needs further enforcement.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's even a level of like, so there's racism, subtle racism in the classroom, but there's like subtle classism in the classroom setting.
Yes.
Yep.
And you see that in the States, especially in colleges, with like first generation, continuing generations. But there's this quote that says that classism is so insidious that it's hard to identify the blatant and obvious examples. Maybe it's a conversation about vacation or buying books for school. It seems innocuous for most, but for people of the minority, for first generation college students, it's an internal struggle. It's an emotional experience that builds up over time. So let's talk about that, because I think when we talk about subtle discrimination, we have to include all spheres of it. It's racial, it's classist, it's sexist, it's ableism, it's it's all of these things. But let's hone in on classism for a second. Sabusa, what was your experience like? Did you experience or did you see this happening in your school, or even do you see this happening here at Whitworth with classism?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, if you go to a top private school or like Whitworth or the one I went to, there's gonna be different class divisions because people won't come there with like equal social status. So like some people are there on scholarship, some people are there like and they purely can't afford it. They're just there to play sports, whatever. Once upon a time, I was that person, so I can clearly relate. Like when people talk about, yeah, I'm going on holiday. Where you going?
Yeah.
I'm going to Port Elizabeth or to Durban. Someone's going to Italy and like France.
I'm going to Spokane.
And you hear this thing. Yeah, exactly. You hear this thing repeatedly, and it like subconsciously it eats away at you because you're like, yo, why can't my parents provide for me like this?
Yeah.
Why can't I do this? Like, why me? Like, why is he fortunate enough? Like, it's just, it could have been a different circumstances and I could have been him. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man,
and then,
you are literally saying like, yeah, that's so good.
It's so tough because especially when you grow up in a whitely dominated like school.
Yeah.
Because everyone's wealthy. So like,
yes.
It's either you're on the wealthy train or you're not. And if you down there, you'll really feel it because people will do stuff like just a little thing, like say someone says, let's go downtown. And then like all of a sudden you need to buy something, like, and what do? Like, you can't embarrass yourself, you know what I mean? So like,
whoa, yeah.
I'm fortunate enough because I actually work like on campus, so there is like money there, but like I'm just saying because I've experienced this before. At my old school, like it was very tough. Like, but there are like people there that like who will try to bring you up to their level, like
Totally.
that are up there, but people just don't understand it's a build up. Like,
yeah, that's funny that you say that. There's this other quote that basically sums up what you just said. It seems that in short, we just don't have a great idea of how advantaged or disadvantaged we are. But this means that when lower class students begin struggling in college, they blame themselves for their struggles. There's this research that says that most of them were held to high standards in their hometowns and by their families, so asking for help feels like failure. So they feel that they're failing because they aren't as capable, and it reiterates the fear that they are the stereotype of the undereducated lower class kid.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
exactly. That's self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh. Say that. Can you, sorry, Sabusa, can you tell us what that means? Because there's people, we want to be all about, educating people. So.
Okay. Shout out to Dr. Mark Killian for teaching me this.
Hey,
Mark Killian.
Hey.
He's education.
Anyways, so a self-fulfilling prophecy is basically, society sets expectations for certain races and ethnicities and classes, and they can either make you feel like powerful in a sense, like, and I'll elaborate on that, or helpless, because if you have social constraints that meet like or don't meet those expectations set by society, then you'll simply just live up to them. So for instance, I heard a stat the other day that 1 in 3 African American men are bound to go to jail at some point in their lives. So when you're born as an African American, 1 in 3 of you are already destined to go to prison in some time of your life. So you're already thinking, oh, okay, I'm already losing at life. So like you end up confirming that stereotype, that expectation that's set by society, which it comes down to a lot of factors. But also it's a strong mindset it really helps.
Totally.
Yep, for real.
Yeah, there's a lot that we can unpack with class differences and with like the expectation to continue to be, to kind of be something for your family that wasn't able to have that privilege.
Like all this stuff is so interconnected. Like it's like crazy how like intertwined they are, man.
Have you guys noticed? Okay, this might be like a first generation student thing too, but like there's kind of rules. There's like very, very implicit rules of how to succeed at college. And these are the kind of subtle discriminations that we need to start voicing more. They are very, very subtle rules that if you didn't grow up knowing how to do, or if you didn't grow up with teachers or parents, you'll never know them. So I guess a quick example for those of you who need clarity, because
for the sake of justification,
people feel like they need me to justify myself, which I will, but pay attention. The rules of the game can be as simple as, hey professor, why did I get an A-? I worked so hard on that. And know how to talk to the professor in a way that persuades the professor to get that grade. That's one very, very simple way I've seen it.
Basically hustling the professor.
Which I'm like, yo, where did you learn that from? But then there's also like the go make appointments with your professor outside of class. That's just something that they don't tell you to do, that people just know, Then there's also, it seems so simple when you're part of the majority, but when you're not part of the majority, you're not taught these things. These are rules of the game. And these rules, if you don't know them, you have a tougher time catching up to your peers, right? Sure. So like your friends know how to succeed at this game because their parents have played the game, because their parents have played the game. So they're advancing more and more. Meanwhile, that's subtly discriminating students who haven't had that opportunity.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I feel like more and more students need to realize that they have this privilege that other students don't have, and we need to start leveraging that knowledge of what that stuff is, you know?
Yeah, distributing it, man, so
Yeah.
everyone can know it. So yeah, that's why like investing in like first year programs for students who are first gen, I think is a really good idea. But that's like a topic for like another day. So
Totally.
anyway,
And we know that our school's doing that
yeah,
with Bucksbridge, which is coming out of the Hendrick Hall, and David Garcia, huge, incredible dude, is the main leader in that.
yeah, let's go.
He is literally the main leader in that.
David, Sean, Lulu, let's go.
David, Sean, Lulu.
Yeah.
The Holy Trinity. I'm just kidding.
I'm blasting it now anyway.
Yikes! I am. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good conversation.
Yeah.
We're gonna transition now
Mhm.
into some music. We'll give you guys a quick break. Process this.
Mhm.
We'll have some more time for Sabusa to share some stuff.
Yep.
And also during that point, if you want to call in, ask questions after the song, do so. After the song, not during the song.
Yeah, please.
After the song ends, we'll say we're ready to take callers. So if you want to call 509-777-3278, and we'll get you live on the radio show. So thank you, Sabuso, for this conversation. We're going to continue it right after this song.
Mhm. So
Thank
you all should know that I love a little funk, and you know, it's really dope genre. So this is Them Changes by Thundercat. Thundercat's a dope artist, so if you like the song, you should definitely check him out.
We're back in the studio.
Yep, that was the song Them Changes by Thundercat, and now we're back to continue our discussion.
So we'll let Sabuso take it away. Sabuso had some points of really, really strong points of just things that he wanted to share.
They were really dope too. So
yeah,
I'm excited for y'all to hear it, man.
I shot for the gas.
Yeah, man.
But anyway,
Gonna gas you up.
So I brought these topics up in class, but I felt like the wits were brushed away. But anyway, I think they're pretty relevant. Just the term, I don't think Americans realize, just the term African American. It's when you like doing a government document, and you take that race form, that just the connotations that lie there are saying that you're black, but you have American heritage. But what people don't realize is that you can be African, and you can be American, and you can be white. So it shouldn't like technically it shouldn't even be like African American black. That's basically saying anything African is black, which is not true. So believe it or not, African American can actually be white. So I know African Americans that are white. And if you want proof, hit me up.
Yeah, look at his Facebook photos with some of his friends.
Okay. And then the second point I just want to bring up, and if you have any questions, just like seriously talk to me. I'm always open to discussion. Obviously, like, immigration is a very controversial topic in America, anywhere in the world. I won't go into depths of it, but like, I just want to make people aware of some things that they might not know that go on in South Africa, where I'm from, that are very similar to here. So we also have a very high population of immigrants that are undocumented coming into our country. But the interesting thing is that it's the inverse, in the sense where our population is majority black, your population is majority white. But however, there's this misconception that immigration has a connection or relationship to a specific race or ethnic group. So it's like, it's either you're Hispanic, you're Latino, you're black, whatever you want to call it. You're of color, basically. So, and then you're immigrating. So you really hear stories of white immigrants that have trouble finding their feet here. Undocumented ones, that is. But in South Africa, there was a time, and I don't know if you keep up with the news, but Robert Mugabe just got overthrown after 37 years of a dictatorship, basically.
Hey, freedom.
Freedom to Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Shout out to my roommates Anesu and Teresa.
Hey, let's go.
Hey.
Let's go.
But anyways, so basically at the time, what happened was Mugabe was on a certain tip of saying he wants to reclaim our land, but like he went about it the wrong way. So he basically kicked all the white farmers out of the country that were generating income or a source of wealth to the economy, and they all flee to South Africa. And like, believe it or not, I went to school with undocumented white Zimbabwean citizens that were living in South Africa and still had the same legal rights that any South African citizen had. So immigration has no relationship to race or ethnicity. It's a social construct, just like racism is.
Yep.
That ought to humble a lot of white people. And as a white person, I'm humbled that like sometimes we don't think of our people as being the immigrants, but that's also because we're very ethnocentric, so we think everything's about America.
And it's
So
really not.
It's not. Surprise, surprise, guys! It's not all about America, but it's just cool to kind of see that that's a reality. That there are, it's humbling, is what it is. It's not even like a good thing. It's just humbling, and it should be. And if you're feeling uncomfortable, that's a good thing.
Yep.
You should be feeling that right now.
And also should kind of, I guess, motivate you to become more of a global citizen and kind of read up on what's going on around the entire world. Because like what goes on around the world does affect us in one shape or another, you know. Because we have a president who just interacts with like the entire world, and so whatever happens there is gonna affect us directly or indirectly, you know. So
Totally.
stay woke and read up.
Stay woke, yeah.
Basically, it's
Fox
what I'm
News
trying to say.
isn't the only news.
Man, okay, yeah, whatever.
So, yeah, I mean, there are so many ways that I'm sure Ike and I could say that we've felt this discrimination, but we also, I have 2 blurbs from students that I'd like to read.
Yeah.
They're anonymous blurbs, but they're just kind of, also, if you want to call, please call us. We are dying to hear what our fans are thinking right now. Just give us a call at 509-777-3278 and you'll be live on the show. But I have a few student blurbs I want to read. The first one is, they're all anonymous, by the way. I'm gonna read the first one. I'm not gonna say who it's from either, so y'all got to keep it a mystery and just love everyone and be acceptable. Okay, so this person said, I would say the most frustrating way in which people discriminate against me is when they credit my accomplishments to my race. It is usually done in a joking manner, but the subtext is always there. They think I am not as smart or worthwhile as the other. They think I can't be.
Dang.
Do we want to talk about that for a sec? Because that's gnarly. So the student, in other words, feels like the only, like their accomplishments aren't accomplishments because they're smart people. They're accomplishments because it's equated to their a racial identity.
Which is such a double standard, because like,
yes,
like okay, like just throughout history, like whenever you see white people do stuff, you know, like no one ever like really wants to like credit them because they're white. I guess you have some like closet racists out there who kind of have this implicit like viewpoint that I guess like white people are just like naturally smarter. It's like a weird thing which no one really questions, but since like it's there, and since like if you've been taught in textbooks, oh, like the person who invented this was this, or the person who accomplished this was this, like subconsciously, you kind of have it in your mind that okay, like maybe this certain kind of group is just more, I guess, inclined to get stuff done.
Exactly.
So it's kind of a weird, abstract. I don't know. Like it's like, it's just annoying and
kind of like a backhanded compliment, essentially.
It's weird, man. It's like okay, like no one wants to question.
You're
that, but
smart,
then,
but that's rare for people of your kind. It essentially is what they're saying. So
yeah, because like honestly, smartness isn't just attributed to one group of people. Smartness is a human condition. Like just the simple things you just want people to know, and it's like you just see all these hate and stuff out here, you know, that's just counterintuitive to progress. Anyway.
Getting a little emotional. Getting me emotional.
Ike's being very existential. No, I'm just kidding. The next one we have is from a student. I'm just going to read it, and then I'm going to tell you something shocking afterwards. So this student said, I've had one professor of a minority group throughout my whole Whitworth career in my major. And everyone in my major who teaches is a white male besides 2 female white professors. And on top of that, those female white professors' classes aren't even required for the major.
Dang.
And she said all the required classes are taught by the white male professors.
Subtle. That's what we call subtle.
So that's up students. And you know what? I'm not going to say that that's like not well researched facts, yo. If you're listening and you're like, they need to research the fact. That is someone's experience. Like, that's not something that we can.
You can't prove that. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the shocking thing. Okay. You thought that you might have been thinking that was a student of a minority background. That was actually a white female student.
Yep.
So that's what this is coming from both sides, yo. Like, people from the majority, people from the minority see that this is an issue. Like, they don't just see that this is, this is just the way it's been, so we shouldn't change it. They're noticing it too.
Yeah.
They're noticing that this is not normal.
Yo, Dale, you want to talk about the other thing that you told me before we started it?
Yeah, so, okay. So we're talking about subtle discrimination, right? So I sent this out to some people trying to get blurbs. And here's the thing. Okay, so this show, our purpose is not to bash our school. Our school has provided a lot for us. Yeah. But our school is our purpose in doing this talk show is to educate and reveal things that aren't being talked about. And certainly not to be like, Whitworth sucks or Whitworth is a terrible place. But to really, 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 really expose the truth of, conversations that are being had amongst minority students.
And kind of challenge it too, because like things can't always be better. I mean, like we are working towards stuff, but like things haven't reached their final state, we can always improve. Totally.
And that's the point of our show, is to just talk about these things. But I sent this out to some students hoping that I would get, some sort of, like responsive feedback like I did from those past 2 students who I shared. But I got feedback that almost seemed to echo subtle discrimination. Like, it almost seemed as though they were conditioned to believe, like, I can't see anything bad because anything bad would be seen as negative or, attacking towards Whitworth. Defying the system. But it's not. That's the funny thing. That's not true. If you have something that you've felt you've been different in, you've felt that you've had to turn off a part of your identity to be accepted, you felt like you were the only one like you, that is something that needs to be talked about. And like, that's something that we need to start sharing more, and be brave in sharing that stuff, Sabuso has been brave enough to come onto our show and talk about this. So, and me and Ike have been brave enough to talk about our experiences.
Yeah.
So we are challenging the Whitworth campus to also be brave in these sort of conversations.
Let's just break this down. Would you rather mess up here in a place like this where you're more or less protected and like you'll be more forgiven, or up in the real world? Because I can guarantee you that people out there are less forgiving than those here.
Yeah. We're getting a caller. Caller, we are live. Are you there, caller?
Yeah.
Hey. Cool.
Oh, hey.
Hi.
Hi, this is Caleb Drexel. I don't know if you remember me.
Hey, what's up, Caleb? Of course I remember you, man. Of course.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say this is a super cool program. I'm so glad you guys are doing this. When I saw the Facebook post, I was like, oh, heck yeah.
It works. Hey. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's some feedback there. It's working for you.
Thank you.
Totally. We I really appreciate that, caller. Yeah, so do you have what's your question?
Yeah, just some context. I went to Whitworth. I graduated in 2015 and stuck around for their master's in teaching program.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I just kind of skipped back over to Idaho.
Yeah.
In Coeur d'Alene. You guys are probably familiar with that. And I teach at the high school that I graduated from.
Okay.
Small school, about 700 students. in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, a nice tourist town of about 97% white, I think was the last census reading.
Dang.
Background history on it. We used to host the Aryan Nations. There was a recent article that came up again that talked about how Idaho populations, like in the local civil rights task force, worked to bankrupt Butler and his group, and they tore down the place and turned it into a civil rights center. And I don't all say that like, oh, look how cool we are.
Yeah.
But that's the context that I'm calling from. And my question, both your guests, I'm sorry, I can't recall the name right off the bat. I think I heard it twice, so I apologize for that.
Yeah.
My question is, I'm a high school teacher. I teach juniors. I teach 7th graders. And coming from this education system, I'm proud of it. When I read Lies My Teacher Told Me by Lewin, which is not like the only authoritative text, but I was pretty proud that my education didn't, glisten Christopher Columbus or any of those narratives, that I did get a pretty broad narrative. But now as the one in power of and privilege of teaching young minds, I'm very aware of how white and male my literature curriculum is, just because that's what we've had.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of our school. I mean, you guys know Graham Lauer or Anna Walter and Tessa Lauer and these students who came through Whitworth from charter.
Yeah.
And as a teacher, I'm constantly trying to broaden it, and this whole conversation just kind of is humbling me and sitting here going, well, shoot, how do I participate without participating and give my students a better leg up or a broader range to be, not only just functioning citizens, but global citizens and compassionate listeners and effective communicators. And in this age of Trump, I'm very aware that every day in the class I have to coddle egos for fear of their ears closing.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like sometimes I cater more towards trying to be gentle towards those that I might offend versus those who are actively being offended and, dare I say, assaulted on a daily basis. So I guess my question to your caller is, I'm a teacher, I'm trying to make changes, and to you guys as well, like what advice or thoughts would you put in my ear as I move on?
Okay. Is Sabuso taking this?
Sure.
Sabuso's got to take this one.
All right, cool.
This is quite an in-depth question, but I appreciate the analogy and the acknowledgement, especially coming from a teacher. Sure. I don't know. I don't know much about American education system because I'm a freshman. I just got here. I've been here for 2 months, but I'll pick up on things very quickly. But I'll just say whatever you teach, if you have the power to control what you're teaching, and it's not someone else pulling the strings for you, I feel like if you have that power, you have the power to knowledge. So like whatever you teach those young children, you basically pathing their or like shaping their mindset. So if you have that power to teach them, even if it goes against the norm or it defies the system of Idaho. I'm not too informed, but I heard some stories about Idaho. But anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, so even if you feel like it's defying like your own beliefs or defying like what people around you believe, as long as it's for a great cause and it feels right, like I think you must teach it. So like I feel like the worst thing is that don't teach propaganda, and don't also America's sensationalized to the extent where they think, like Dylan was saying, America's the world, but there's more to the world than just America, you know what I mean? So
right.
I just feel like they can't acknowledge that there's flaws in the system, but there's flaws in every system, but it's probably the best country to live in the world, like without a doubt. I'd say that in terms of opportunities. But I just feel like if you possess the power as a teacher at a very small school to transform education, then you're making all that much difference. Just you might think it's insignificant, but if you can change those minds and you can tweak the curriculum so that it's authentic, even if it doesn't favor what what they want you to teach, or if it's not gentle, that gentle approach that I heard you talking about. Like, life's not gentle, life's not fun and roses. But like, I feel like okay, there's obviously a way of going about it, but for me, authenticity is the number one factor. Like, and I think that's where the problem lies, like, as well.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, actually, let's ask our caller. Was that a good answer?
Yeah. Was it?
Wow. Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate that, and I take that pretty seriously.
Yeah.
So.
And sorry, just in addition to that, what I've noticed is that with just like certain textbooks, they're all very American. They're written by American authors, there's nothing wrong with that. Where I'm from, we strive to get textbooks from like different countries, and it's just like a competition to see who's got the best textbook. I think the best way to do is to have multiple sources, even if those sources aren't particularly what you're looking for or relevant to what you're teaching. It just broadens your mindset, so like you don't like it's good. Like, that's why I love reading, because even if it's like science fiction, you're thinking a different way. Like you just broadening your mindset, you expanding your knowledge, and you occupying parts of your brain that wouldn't usually function if you just one-dimensional in thoughts. You know what I mean? So I think that's global perspective.
Hey.
Yeah. Well, and I teach American literature, so I have to stay within a certain bound. But that being said, I mean, you reminded me of a James Baldwin quote from the Harlem Renaissance when he says, "You think that your suffering is exclusive and unique in the world, and then you read a book."
For real, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And James Baldwin, of all people, to be able to effectively teach. I mean, I just read his The Fire Next Time, and it's a book I wish everybody would read right now. It just seems to echo all across the ages. But man, I really appreciate that feedback and encouragement and focus. So
thank you so
I'll
much
take
for
that
pulling.
with me.
Yeah. Hey.
Absolutely. Thanks for doing this.
With alumna.
Yeah. No, Caleb, seriously, like, thanks, thanks for your support and just calling in and just like kind of being real with us. We all really appreciate that. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. This is what we need, guys. Keep going. I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling. Well,
and all those Whitworth listeners, you better get active too. Don't sit on your butts. This is from an alumni to you.
Let's
get
go.
going.
Let's
say
go.
that.
Yep.
Yes.
You heard it. Heard it there. All right. Thanks, Caleb.
Sure.
Yep. Take care. Good night, guys.
All right. Good night.
That was awesome.
That was dope. That was our first successful call.
First? We're giving high fives around the room. Okay. So we have. What were we talking about before that?
I wish we had like a live feed. That
You're talking about
we got speak so.
The student blurbs and how like it could be portrayed as like negative towards the Wordsworth, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like so I think before we were talking about the students who I asked to give a blurb about the ways they felt subtly discriminated, and I just like Caleb said, if you're a Whitworth student and you feel like speaking about this stuff is like edgy, that's a good thing. We need to start talking about this stuff more.
We do, because then like the administration knows that we care about this more, and it puts pressure on them to actually, I guess like we need to really get things like, done around here, That's how it works.
Like these are things that are important in our world. They're important on our campus. They're important in our lives. And, we understand that there's a very, very big problem here. But we know as students that we can take small steps to understanding people's stories by asking the right questions, by understanding these things like subtle discrimination. If you've never heard of that term, we are so thankful you're listening. And if you've never heard of that term and are understanding it more clearly now, we are so thankful you're listening. Like I said, please call us if there's one more caller, that'd be awesome. We would love to get you on the air. We figured out how to do this, so awesome. But there's I think we're running out of time.
Yeah.
And that makes me so sad because we have we're getting a caller. Okay.
Caller. Hey,
Okay.
get it.
Okay, we're getting a caller.
Let's do it.
Caller, are you live? Are you there?
Hello.
Hi. Yes.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hi. So, I love your show. Big time fan. Thank you very much for offering this calling time. Very excited to engage with this topic. I have a question about what you think about subtle discrimination based on intersectional identities. So, what a person might do if, well, I can give a real world example. If they're a woman of color and they feel maybe their intellectual capabilities are being underestimated, or that they're being excluded from certain spaces that are typically male-dominated, and the kind of mental capacity that would be involved in guessing which identity is being technically subtly discriminated against. Wow. Or for another example, a person with special needs who is also a person of color, or maybe a transgender person who, et cetera, intersectional identities. Like, what do you think about the toll that subtle discrimination can have on people with intersectional identities? Like, can you speak to that a little bit?
Oh my gosh. Like, I can only speak to like one primarily, but like I can only imagine how tough that is, because like it's like you're being like hit at from like all sides, you know, and it's like you can't really like get around in the world. It's just really like it'd be really draining, you know, and like it would suck.
Yeah, I think with that it's important to recognize that it is attacking not just you, who you are, but it's attacking all of those different areas that you have found meaningful up until this point.
Yeah.
And so that's what it needs to be called. It needs to be called out in all of those ways. Like if subtle discrimination is going, this is what this means. And this is why it's so nice that we have people who have these intersectionalities, because that means we can call out subtle discrimination in all of those areas. Yep. Right? So like you feel like you're subtly discriminated against in your sexuality. There's a subtle discrimination that here at Whitworth that exists that says if you're straight, you're more accepted.
But then if you happen to be a person of color as well, then that's like
then that's like twofold, which means we need to start confronting that on a holistic scale. So like not just one thing. We need to attack it and not attack it, even just confront it, call it out for what it is on all those areas. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
And like it's important too, because we don't do that here. We don't have these conversations that call out subtle discrimination for it being more than just a racial thing.
Oh yeah, there's so many layers,
you know, and the different layers it affects you as a person. Sabusa was talking about this earlier, and I thought about how this affected this person psychologically, socially, physically. Sometimes, like how you see yourself in comparison to other people's. That it's just, there's so many levels of it that we have to call it out for what it is. And if you're a person where all these things are intersected and the subtle discrimination is attacking you or like discriminating against you on all sides, that is, I am with Ike. That is, my heart breaks for you and with you that has to happen on a day-to-day basis. And yet it's so subtle. So like, oh man, yeah, that's a very good question.
I feel like stuff like that is also good for like enlightening, because it lets you know that the work isn't like done. Like there's still a ton of stuff that we can be striving to improve, you know. And just like the more we call it out, the more I think it can get into people's heads that like this isn't just like a race thing. Like this like one thing of subtle discrimination like kind of can touch on race, but then like it branches off into a ton of like different things and like context, you know. And it also helps us to know that like this thing really like affects like a ton of areas in people's lives.
Yeah. So do you think also when someone has experienced subtle discrimination, or they think that they might have, but then the opportunity kind of goes by to confront the person, like what are ways that a person can engage in self-care after having that kind of an experience?
Oh, let's see. Well,
so,
I would. You want to go first? Or?
Yeah, let's repeat the question. You're getting kind of stuffy on my end.
Sorry.
Okay. No, you're good. The question was, how does a person engage with self-care?
Yeah.
After they've gone through so much hurt, because of subtle discriminations in all those areas. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, yeah, a good thing is just to find like-minded people, people who have the same experiences like as yourself, get together and like kind of form like a group to where like you can just be real and talk about this stuff. And also it's weird because it's like a weird like reconciling, I don't know, because like you have to like kind of like reconcile like people do stupid stuff, and like, but at the same time like some people might not know that they are doing it, but at the same time it sucks that it's happening. So I don't know, like maybe a good self-care thing would be to kind of, I guess, call it out as well and kind of bring that up and like not internalize a ton of it. But then but then at the same time, like I could see people kind of like turning that back on you, and you having to like educate them about your experiences, which can be taxing itself. So yeah.
I could add to that as well, because I've experienced that firsthand. I just think internalization is the worst thing ever, because it'll lead to so many different things, like depression, and like you just feel like it lowers your self-esteem. So the worst thing you could do is probably add to that by saying, yes, like this is how society is, I must just accept it. I think it definitely goes like what Ike said. You must find people that you find common ground with, that you can speak to, because those people are the ones that care. Those are the relevant people, and it's not over. So it's not set in stone, basically. So it also comes down to conditioning your mind. So like I don't know if you know that saying. Probably do. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So for me, that's what I believe. I just keep going, but there's been times like everyone reaches their breaking point. So there's been plenty of times where that's happened to me. But as long as you know, you've got people that care about you, fighting for you, and there's always an insight. You can get to where you want to get to. Just gotta be patient.
Yeah, that's self-care for that. It
I guess taking yourself away from that situation is also a good thing too, because like I guess you don't have to be there. Like you can leave and kind of just like recharge and then come back to like, I guess, do battle. Yeah, in a sense.
It's never bad to make a good next move, I guess. And if the next move is separating yourself from that, if there's a group of people that are perpetuating that discrimination, like literally removing yourself from that group for that moment being, and getting time to like recuperate and understand like who you are and the discrimination within that group, so then you can go back to that group. And like, sadly, the oppressed have to be the people that are the ones that are crying out, but also the people that are educating, because these groups of majority culture, they won't, like, I can just say from my own experience, like I wouldn't realize that these are things unless my friends like sat me down and poured out, what they were feeling and how like that affected them. And I just feel like that would be also a really important thing to do if you want to ever feel like you're walking away reconciled, I guess, or like not even reconciled, but like you're walking away knowing that you've been fully heard and fully like understood and fully known, even if it means confronting those ways that your friend group has been perpetuating. I had that happen recently too, where I just had to confront like all of those things, because I felt like it was like I had been subtly discriminated against in like very subtle ways. And I'm not saying that my friends attacked me. I'm just saying the culture that I've lived in and the friendships that I've had created this like subtle discrimination against my first generation collegeness, my ethnic identity, my basically those two, honestly. And like those two things are huge parts of my identity. And I just kind of had to, I just had to call it out for what it was, and just sit each person down in my friend group and just tell them individually, like, this is what it's been like for me. This is my side of history, in our friendship, and just being honest about that, and giving them the chance to respond. And if they choose to respond by not responding, then you have to ask yourself, are these like the type of people, are these the type of people anyone wants to be around if they're not willing to change? Because you've had to put yourself in a place where you've had to code switch, switch. Hey, hey, you've put yourself in an area where you've had to strip away parts of who you are to be with them. So it has to be reciprocated. It has to be mutual.
Totally. Well, cool. Thank you. This has been
hopefully,
very helpful.
Yeah, hopefully we answered stuff or made things clear, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks a ton. You guys are doing great work. I'm excited for next week.
Thanks so much for calling.
Yeah, thank you for your support and everything.
Yeah, thanks for supporting us, Hannah.
Yeah.
Keep doing you.
All right, you guys too.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Alrighty, guys. It is that time of the night.
It's about to wrap
We
up.
are wrapping up.
It's a wrap.
It's so, Ike, do we want to just end with Star Wars, or do we want to end with?
Oh, I mean, I was gonna play Humble next.
Oh, play Humble.
Yeah,
play
but
Humble. Okay.
By Kendrick.
by Kendrick.
Oh,
It's gonna be lit in
Yeah,
here.
it's gonna be dope. Okay, so this next song is "Humble" by Kendrick Lamar, one of the GOAT artists of all time.
Go darn.
I will say that.
Before we play this, I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. I do this every week.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Yeah.
Sodexo for providing us food on the daily.
Okay.
Shout out to let's see what else. Shout out to
Sam Abbott.
Sam Abbott
For helping us come up with the name for the show as well.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Canva. We are sponsored today by Canva, a great graphic design software online.
And WordPress as well.
And WordPress, which is a great tool for creating websites.
Which will be up soon, by the way.
And iTunes, same with them.
Yeah.
Shout out to all these sponsors. Shout out to Gogurt. Thank you so much for being an active and positive role model for kids and their youth.
Yeah.
I'm just saying things now. But I did want to say, like our Facebook page, like our Spotify playlist, InDifference. Follow that on Ike Amichi's Spotify account.
Spotify. And like I said before, I'm also going to share it on our InDifference Facebook page as well.
Oh, yes.
To make it easier to access, but you can't search it.
Yeah.
Type in InDifference and you'll find it. Also share our show to all your friends and stuff, because like we can really make this a pretty big thing, because like people want and crave like all like authenticity, even if at times they don't like say that, so
Totally.
I think it'll be really cool if we can kind of get this thing having more listeners and just like followers. And also our podcast will be up as well. We'll be getting that, I think probably all the episodes we do before the end of the year, I think. Yes,
and we will be coming back for Jan term. So if you're wondering, our last person, Megan, she is sadly not going to be with us during Jan term, but we will have our regular time Monday 8 to 9:30 p.m.
Yep.
And
Star Wars music.
Yeah, we have a very, very sweet setup for you guys for Jan term and spring term.
Yeah, we are just getting started.
Also, we want to give a shout out to Diversity Monologues, which is happening on campus
March 15th
in the RTT at 7 p.m.
I think so.
We have it on a calendar. We're pulling it up. RN.
Hold on, let's
but it's a great night where we have student speakers sharing their stories, talking about the different ways they've been affected.
Yep. It's March 15th, which is a Thursday next year, 7 to 9 p.m. They actually just got and confirmed the speaker for it as well.
And do we want to reveal who that speaker is? Are we allowed? Yeah, we are allowed to, because it's public knowledge. This is public, y'all. You can access this whenever you want to.
Aisha Fukushima, and like you should just look her up, and she's really dope. Like just like I've been like just looking up her like profile and stuff, and she's really cool.
She's Raptivist.
Yeah, Raptivist.
That's cool.
So yes, so we will be kind of advertising diversity monologues, because it's a really dope event. It's a really dope event to kind of see the different perspectives students here on this campus kind of have and what their experiences are. You know, it's really eye opening if you haven't really thought about that stuff before. So there we go.
Yeah, stay tuned. We love you guys. Thanks for calling. And if you called in, Caleb and Hannah, we appreciate you guys.
Seriously, like thank you. Like we really appreciate that. Like you have no idea. Like it was so cool when y'all called. Anyway.
Yeah, that was really awesome.
That was dope.
Tell your friends, tell your family. We are here to disrupt your hour.
Yep.
We are Dylan,
Ike, and Sabuso.
and Sabusa.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying yes, man.
Seriously. Thanks for
being here.
coming. It was awesome.
Appreciate it.
Our best show yet, man.
Yeah, seriously. Our best show yet, and it's because we have someone else down here with us. No, but we love you guys, and yeah, we're going to sign off now. This is Ike and Dill signing off.
Mm-hmm.